Did you know that brutalist architecture, often seen as cold and unyielding, was deeply influenced by nature and the environment? Brutalism emerged in the mid 20th century as a reaction to the perceived lack of authenticity in modern architecture. Unlike its predecessor, the International style, which often featured smooth, sleek surfaces, Brutalism emphasized raw concrete, exposed materials, and rugged textures. As Rainer Barnham details in his book The New Brutalism, Ethic or Aesthetic, this style was characterized by an honest expression of material and structure. Architects began to see buildings as integral parts of their surroundings, merging built forms with the landscape around them. Kenneth Frampton, in his seminal work Modern Architecture, A Critical History, further explains that Brutalism aimed to reconnect architecture with the natural and social context from which it had become detached. He argues that Brutalism's use of raw concrete, or béton brut, another way of saying concrete that became heavily associated with Brutalism, was not only a stylistic choice but also a response to the landscape and environment, emphasizing the material's capacity to weather naturally over time. One of the most influential figures in Brutalist architecture was Peter Smithson, who, along with his wife Alison, redefined the relationship between architecture and nature. As highlighted by Claire Zimmerman in Photographic Architecture in the 20th Century, the Smithsons believed that buildings should not merely sit upon the landscape but actively engage with it. They introduced the concept of streets in the sky, advocating for public spaces that connect people with both their urban and natural environments. Gillian Darley, in Concrete and Culture, A Material History, notes that the Smithsons were particularly interested in how Brutalism could foster social cohesion through its integration of natural elements. They sought to design structures that encouraged interaction with the environment, creating a dialogue between the building, its inhabitants, and the surrounding landscape. A prime example of this philosophy is the Smithsons' Robin Hood Gardens housing estate in East London. As shown in the original plans and drawings, the estate was designed to incorporate nature as an essential element of urban living. The building's placement around a central green area was meant to provide residents with a sense of community and connection to nature, even in a dense urban environment. According to Mark Crinson in Brutalism Post-War British Architecture, the Smithsons' use of raw concrete was not merely for aesthetics, but also to create a tactile connection to the environment, echoing the textures and tones of the surrounding landscape. Jonathan Meades, in his book Brutalism, Architecture and the Anti-Aesthetic, also discusses how the design of Robin Hood Gardens exemplifies a harmonious relationship between architecture and its environment. He emphasizes that the Smithsons' approach was not about imposing a structure on the land, but rather about allowing the building to emerge from and coexist with its surroundings, reflecting a deep respect for the natural world. If you'd like to learn anything more about any of the topics discussed, check out these resources and links below.